I hope you can all hear me properly. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. And thank you very much for joining us today. I think this is going to be quite exciting. But before I do, just as a reminder, you have the option to download a little flyer of ours in your handouts section on your control panel. So please feel free to do so. As Sam said, feel free to also ask questions at any point during this webinar. We'll make sure we answer all of your questions at the end. Without further ado, let me just welcome Cath and Gary. I've known these two individuals for a long time. I know they have a deep interest in partner portals. So, Cath, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, thanks, Olivia. I'm Cath Hackett. I'm currently Transformation Director, Go-to-Market Strategy at Konica Minolta, but I have a very long history of working with partners in the IT industry. I've run global partner programs for Symantec. I've run global channel marketing, and I've also run channel sales as well and sales operations. So I do understand from a vendor and from a partner's view all the different elements of working with partners, and hopefully what I can do today is to bring some of that knowledge of partners and of vendors to light.
I have no doubt about that one, Cath. And thank you for joining us today. Gary, would you like to introduce yourself as well?
Absolutely. Gary Morris from Successful Channels. We provide partner planning, scorecarding, and QBR tools for improving partner planning and performance management. So I've been working in the channel for over 15 years and have my third software company in the channel, and have a lot of experience in working with channel executives to help build successful partner programs.
Thank you very much, Gary, and I'm looking forward to hear what you've got to say. Before I go any further, I just want you to remember you have the option to ask questions via the control panel. You can always go on Twitter. You can follow us, of course, but you can also ask questions via #CMS. You can raise your hands, and I will ask you to raise your hand at some point in that presentation. And again, that's an option that's available on your control panel. Before we start, really just wanted to introduce my company. So I'm Olivier Choron, CEO and founder at Pure Channel Apps. We are a software company that's been involved in partner portals and social media advocacy and news and communications that we do for channel partners. We work with a number of small and much larger brands around the world. I am very interested in portals. This is not only something that we do, but it's something I've been involved as a channel marketeer for many, many years. Now, that's enough of introductions. One more thing. Before we start, I just want to make sure we all understand that we are all facing a huge challenge. We are looking for ideal portals, but maybe our partners are not. As you well know, your partners work with many suppliers, and they have access to many, many portals. So it's a challenge we face, and it's the reason why we need to design the ideal partner portal. We need to attract those partners and keep them with us rather than with the others' portal. The other word of caution I have to mention, and no one on the line may like that, but clearly all of this relies on having good partner data. And my assessment of 20 plus years in the channel is that none of our partner data is great. In fact, it could do with some serious cleansing and polishing. So very important. Sliced bread, great invention. Partner portals could be the next best invention in sliced bread, but we still have to consider that we're not the only ones trying to work with those partners. Okay. Now, raise your hand. Please raise your hand. I'm not going to wait. If you think you have the ideal partner portal today, feel free to raise your hand, and I'll try to see in the next 10 minutes if many of you think they have the right and the ideal partner portal. So that'll be an interesting bit of statistics. But really, what is portal? Portal, as you know, is really an internet site that provides access to your partners, to all the resources that you deem are relevant to those partners. What I think is interesting to note is that the more common definition of a portal is that doorway, that gate, that entrance, especially a large and imposing one. And I thought that was interesting. I hope your partner portals are not large. I hope they're not imposing, because clearly if they are large and imposing, I'm not sure how many partners will go and enter those partner portals. So let's try to find a way to make those partner portals not the large imposing structures we know today, but something nimble that partners are very happy to walk through. And here's my view of, well, it's not just my view. We sat down with Kathy and Gary and discussed that at length. For me, for us, partner portal should really support partnerships. It's all about partnerships. It should clearly help your partners collaborate with you. At the same time, it should help you work better or collaborate better with your partners. Very important words. Those are not tactical things. Those are very significant views, very significant pillars for your partner portals. It should really help complement what maybe your account managers don't do, or what they do for their direct partners but don't do maybe for the unmanaged partners. So it's really a way to replicate what's happening in a face-to-face environment, maybe between your top account managers and your top partners, and try to relate that to maybe all of the unmanaged partners you have, and essentially help you to do that cost effectively. Those are really key bullet points that we need to keep in mind when we're looking for or building a partner portal. Kath, what do you think?
I think it's true, but I would go a bit further with a portal should support partnerships. I think a partner portal should enable a partner community to collaborate with each other and form partnerships within a community, as well as collaborating and developing a partnership with a vendor. I think that's the way you would get more value out of a partner portal, and also that it really needs to be simple and effective, act as a support mechanism and not a barrier.
Thank you, Kathy. By the way, I'm going to give you the answer to that raise your hand question I had earlier. Out of everybody in the room, nobody raised their hand. So either nobody knows how to raise their hand, which is quite simple in the control panel, or really the ideal portal doesn't exist. Anyway, Gary, what do you think? What should a portal be or do?
Well, I think we all know that partners don't wake up in the morning thinking, boy, I can't wait to log into my vendor's partner portal. So we know that as a starting point. So we have to, the most effective partner portals are the ones that are organized around the key needs of the partner, whether that's related to registering deals, whether that's related to driving specific demand generation, supporting sales efforts, and pushing and closing more deals or providing technical support. You know, a partner portal should be organized around the primary needs and interests of a partner. So I think that's, you know, I would just keep in mind, I don't wake up in the morning to log into my partner portal. I wake up saying, what can this portal do to help me be successful?
Thank you. Now that's an important point, trying to sometimes go in the place of the partner and think about the partner and their needs rather than maybe us, the vendors, and our needs. What we see typically from a vendor is a portal doing things like this, okay? And I've tried to classify them one way. So lot of tools, lot of options, some all about information, which I think is fundamental to what a partner portal should do. So whether it's about news, resources, provided feedback, sharing events, live chat, and all of that. Some of the functions around collaboration, Kathy mentioned it, maybe also enabling collaboration within partners, to partners, through these partners, with the vendors, or to each other. But there's lots of sales tools, the MDF, deals, co-marketing, all of these elements typically included in a partner portal. Sometimes it's about deal management, leads management, incentive management, FDF management, so trying to run a business and have those partners run a business and support them in running a business. And then there's a lot of other things. You see here on the top right on your screen, a lot of tools in the partner portal. In fact, I think you're all familiar with what a typical feature list set of requirements is about partner portals. Now, us as a software vendor trying to work with customers and trying to fit their needs into our partner portal software, this is what we see all the time. So a lot of features and a lot of functions, a lot of technical, work, a lot of integrations required. So really is a partner portal, is the ideal partner portal, the portal that does the most. Is that a matter of ticking all of these boxes? Maybe this is where we make a mistake sometimes, and maybe that's where we're wrong. Now, Gary, what do you think? Do you think a partner portal should be a bit different?
Well, I think that I think you've done a good job, Olivier, in laying out all the key valued components for doing business with a company and resources in a portal. The partner portals that we've seen that have been the most successful, not just for partners, but their channel account managers, is organizing the features and functions around partner life stages. So, think about, I'm a channel account manager or I'm a partner. I want to figure out, am I a good fit with this brand? So what are the resources for screening and selecting partners, both for partners themselves and for channel account managers? Then organizing, the next life stage is onboarding and activating. And I'd say onboarding and activating not just for new partners, but probably everyone on this call has partners in your ecosystem that are latent partners that have just been hanging around, are registered, but they're not actively selling. They're only selling a deal if they trip over it. So this is a way to reactivate some of those inactive partners or onboard them. Then, the next, once you've got them onboarded, they've filled out the contracts and the materials, the next is sales enablement. I mean, that ultimately, the ultimate goal for a partner program is to help to enable those partners to cross-sell your product to some of their other customers. So enabling them to successfully do that, and then to generate some of their own demand as a partner marketing enablement. And finally, I think supporting partner execution. Once I have been enabled, activated, and I've gotten the resources, the next step is, what am I actually going to do tomorrow and the next day? Is to actually help facilitate account planning with the sales team, help facilitate marketing execution, but tangibly working with the senior executives of the partner and the senior sales teams of the partner to help execute sales programs to drive more leads or generate marketing programs to generate more opportunities.
So that's an interesting view. So here, putting it in stages in terms of the partner vis-a-vis of where they are with you, right? This is looking at them as not as a mass, but as individuals and companies in different stages of their life cycle with you, right? This is what you're saying, Gary.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, Kathy, obviously you spent a lot of time. Kath. You spent a lot of time in working a channel and looking at partner portals. What should a partner portal do?
So I take I suppose, a marketing viewpoint of looking at your target customers, looking at your users, and who is actually going to be using the portal and why they're going to be using it. And I think Gary took us through the life cycle of a partner, and at each stage that partner will want to do something different. But if we go up a level, I think one of the things that the partner communities that I've worked with want to do is they want to be able to have customer awareness of them as a partner. So a partner locator is something that I found has been extremely important to the partners. The partners also want to be enabled in terms of running their own business and not having to follow exactly what the vendor wants in terms of leads being passed to them to be able to execute. The partners that I've worked with really want to be enabled from marketing through to sales, through to closing business. And I think that's really important that you understand the business models of the partners, and you're able to then offer that enablement through the different business models. It's also, I think it's already been said, that partners aren't just going to be working with you, they're going to be working with a multiple number of vendors, and therefore reduction in cost of doing business is extremely important. And it's not, everyone tries to differentiate their partner portal and make it totally different and give a brand experience, but actually using a structure that a partner will understand and the partner will be using with a number of vendors is more likely to increase your usage and your traffic, because they don't have to learn a different way of doing business with you. So think of it in terms of repeatable processes and how you can reduce the cost of doing business with you as a vendor. And from a vendor perspective, you want an enabled partner community so that you can show the business how your partner community is driving profitable business for the vendor. So the more enabled the partner community is, the more they're able to be independent and stand on their own 2 feet, the better for the company that you're working for as a vendor. Again, easy to do business with. It means that you're more likely to be a magnet for a larger partner community, and therefore you're able to reach more customers than you would if you're not easy to do business with. And then repeatable processes are extremely important, especially if you're running or setting up a portal that's going to be handled in multiple countries, because you're going to have to manage your resources and support teams in such a way that reduce the cost of ownership of running a portal. So that's something that really needs to be considered. But one of the key things of building a partner portal is building it in such a way that you're building it out in modular aspects. So you add tools and resources, you find out what the new ways of engaging with your customers are and your partners, and you're able to build those in as and when you need them. And then also adapting to market changes in terms of when we had value-added resellers and distribution partners as key partner community, there was a particular way to do business with them. As you move towards your managed services and the knowledge-based economy, there'll be different requirements for those business models, and your partner portal needs to be able to manage those different requirements.
Thank you, Cath. That's great. I'm delighted about that. So really what we've done is we've moved away from a discussion about the bits, the ticks on the boxes, the features and the tools into much higher level requirements in terms of what the partner portal should do and how it should be used and how it should add value. And to continue on that, really as a summary on that, really we classified it as two things. It has to deliver great relevant proposition for partners. So that's about easier to do business with and to collaborate with you. You know, we know most of the people in the room are very large organizations, multiple languages, sites, countries, different partner types, tiers, different resources, different tools all over the place, some tools for some countries, some for others, some for some partners, some not for others. So really it has to be a platform, a place where that collaboration is enabled. Again, to Cath's point earlier, it's collaboration within as well. It has to be a very cost-effective way for them, the partners, to essentially service their needs. They don't necessarily want to spend a lot of money trying to get information from you that should be widely available, or tools, or your branding, or your leads. So it has to be all very cost-effective for them, simple platform to use. Really, again, it has to enable them to differentiate their business. This is very important. You know, the reason you're putting a partner portal there is to make them successful, and to be successful, they're very likely to have to differentiate themselves and find their niche in their markets. And so it's a way, you should provide a way to help them do that. It has to be about the outcome. It has to be about, it's not just a series of pieces of collateral that has no end or that have no hands in themselves. It's something for them to use, whether it's something for them to use as part of the sales process, as part of the support process, as part of their marketing. We need to maybe focus about the partner portals along those lines and really show them via the portal and help them via the portal reach greater revenue, greater growth, and greater profitability. Cath, do you agree with those? Do you want to add anything to that slide?
Yeah, I do agree with those. The one thing that I would say that I learned the hard way is that you need to think of your partner as a customer, and you need to think about the partner journey that your partner is going to go on. So you know, when you're building a website, you're constantly thinking about your customer journey. You know, how are they going to, how are you going to drive awareness? How are you going to drive consideration? How are you going to drive, you know, all the way through to purchase? And then how are you then going to support that customer post-purchase? You need to think about the proposition to your partner, where they are actually in their cycle, and think about what is their partner experience as they're going through that journey. I think earlier latent partners were mentioned, where they've joined your partner program and then they're not activated. That's probably because there's something that's holding them back from actually starting to grow with you. And one of the things that would be a really good thing to do is to look at your partner portal, work out who your latent partners are, and go to speak to them about the next step on their journey.
Thank you, Cath. Gary, would you like to add anything before I move to the next slide?
Sure. Yeah, this discussion of portals and value proposition reminds me of that old statement, you know, what's worse than being talked about? Not being talked about. You know, it's the problem with every partner portal, you know, and this is every vendor in the industry has, is that, you know, is getting partners to actually come and use it, and channel account managers. So finding a way, both proactively, giving them a way to proactively give them reasons to come, notifications, updates, and reactively to attract them to come, I think is the biggest mission here. You know, however you configure your portal, you know, in brilliant design, if you aren't driving traffic from your partners, they're not engaging, they're not, you know, they're not coming there for regular, meaningful reasons, it will fail. So I think coming up with a way to activate partners to come, you know, whether it's proactive push communication or reactive value, that has to be an important part of the success strategy for your portal.
I can't agree more with you, Gary. I have to say, I'll show some screens after, and I have to say it's driving that interaction that's the most important in my mind, out of all of this. Very, very important. Communications, interaction. Now, we put also slides on really what the ideal partner portal should be or should do for you. And again, it's delivering a great proposition for you, the vendor. And it's obviously finding the mix between what you do for your partners and what you need to do for yourself as an organization. But really, what's important is the partner portal is there to be the face of your partner program. Let's be simple, for the vast majority of your partners that will fall in the category of unmanaged or maybe the bottom tiers, the partner program has only one face, and that's the partner portal. That's what they see. That's the only feasible, tangible proof of the partner program. Very important too, and I will touch on that again, and we did touch to start with, it's about making it easy for you to manage and access and view and report on that partner data. That needs to be fundamental to when you build a partner portal. There's no point in building a partner portal where nothing can be tracked, where partner activity cannot be tracked, where, as we come to the next point, where forecast, planning, leads, registration, deal registration, nothing is tracked. So it's all very, very important. It's also, as we mentioned earlier, enabling your CAMs, supporting your CAMs and letting them focus on what's good, which is relationship building and driving engagement with your partners, what actually keeping them away from the regular task of having partners find the information they need to find at a specific point in time or communicating to the partners. So it's really, a partner portal should have this internal role of supporting your organizations and your sales teams within your organizations. Very, very important. It has to enable compliance, efficiency, and consistency of messaging. So it is the one place, as I say, that's the face of your partner program that essentially is the face of your organization for those partners. So it has to be compliant. It has to be consistent. It has to be what your organization is for partners. And finally, it has to foster true partnerships, to the point Gary made earlier, which works two ways. It is about enabling interactions between you and your partners online, and enabling them to partner with you online and to interact with you online. Sounds a bit of a big deal, but again, if you consider that those guys are unlikely to ever speak to anyone from your organization face-to-face because maybe they are at the bottom of your food chain, you have that duty of enabling that partnerships for them at that level. And again, I'll ask the same questions. Cath, do you want to add anything to this?
Not on this one, Olivia. I think you covered all my main points.
Good. Gary, any feedback on that?
I think you've got it. I mean, I would just put in rank order, the number one thing that they want is registered deals. Number two is how to transact. And three, I think at the end of the day, partners are interested in selling your products, but they're even more interested in selling their services along with their products. So the more that your portal shows them not only here's how you do business with us, but here's how you can make more money selling other services that you sell along with our products, now you've got a real partnership. You're helping those partners build their business around and on top of your brands.
Good. I agree completely. Now, we've talked about features, tools. We've talked about value proposition. Is this enough? Now, I'd like to say that everything we've mentioned earlier, completely relevant. It's all relevant. You have to find the best solutions for your partners, the best solutions for you, but is this enough? And here we have an example of what we call a resource library, where people can find assets that are relevant to them. And in fact, the best way for them to decide what's relevant to them is, again, as you see on the top right-hand side of your screen, them choosing themselves. I just want sales information. I just want it for one product. I don't want it for zillions of products. And yes, I just want English. Thank you very much. I'm not interested in anything else. And again, that, I think, is a proposition that's above everything else we talked about. Cath, you've been involved in partner portals. You've seen those before. You've built many. Do you think that's barking at the wrong tree, or do you think that works?
I think relevant and targeted is really important, but the way to get relevant and targeted information is to design your partner program in such a way where you're understanding what your partners want to sell and how they're selling it, and also the personas within your partners. So building out a partner portal where technical people get relevant technical information, they're not necessarily wanting to see every single marketing campaign that comes out the door. And so mapping your content to the job that the person does, I think, is where I've seen very good partner portals being built, not just based around your product portfolio. And going back to something Gary said earlier about services, another area where partner portals work and where you get good information is if you offer training programs to your partners that can be relevant and targeted to the role that person takes. And enabling them to actually improve their career. Often in a partner, they could be small, they could lack resources, and people in the partners do want to move on in their careers and want to be trained. So developing relevant and targeted training programs and content is something that would actually bond you to a person and get that person to use your portal.
Thank you very much, Kath. I agree. I agree. I think the only danger with personas is it's difficult to manage that information. And if I go back to one of my word of caution before, managing that partner data is quite difficult. But I agree. I'll ask you to, well, I'll move to the next. I was talking about relevance and targeting, and again, I'm showing a couple of screens here showing about events that people can choose in one of the customer portals where the relevant events are just the ones that they're supposed to see. So you can classify events by partner type, partner tiers, countries, geographies, languages, and let these people decide what's for them, and again do that. So for me, it's about relevance and targeting. It's very important to consider when you're building your partner portal, your ideal partner portal. Now the next one is an important one, is one I know Kathy knows quite a lot about, but for me it has to be easy to use. And this is a very quick example of a deal registration screenshot where you can see partners inputting information pretty quickly, finding, and you can't see that necessarily on the screen, but finding the right products from you, just adding the quantity and everything gets calculated automatically. Now, Kath, you have experience with this system, I guess. What experience did you have when you guys used that?
So when we used the module, I think the key thing is that we understood what the partners wanted to register and how they wanted to register, and also to make it worth the partner's time to register a deal. So you need a good deal registration incentive to make sure that it's worth somebody's administration time. But the way to improve your ROI is to have a very simple form. And what I found when we built this deal registration process was it was quick and simple to build, and it was also quick and simple for our partners, and we saw a very large increase in the usage of the partner portal and for registered deals coming through to us from building out this deal registration form. The process previously, we did have a deal registration portal and we had far less deals that were being registered with us. So by thinking about the administration, thinking about how partners work, and working with a partner portal software that allows you to build something simply is something that really worked for us.
Well, thanks, Kath. I'm delighted to have that working for you then. But Gary, have you, in your experience again, and we don't have screens there, I mean, do you agree that partner portal should be easy to use? Have you got good experience on that? Have you seen something work very well?
Yeah, I think, one thing, if you don't mind, I'd like to ask Kath exactly what she did, because I think what you said, Kath, was you have found a way to dramatically increase deal registration rates. That, I would argue, is the #1 goal of a partner program, is to improve the number. So can you tell us exactly what you did to increase the amount of deal registrations that you got? Because I can guarantee you everyone on this call is interested in that.
So what we did was we looked at the deals that were currently coming into the company, the average size of the deal, and the types of partners who are actually putting those deals in place. We then made sure that we worked out what our goal was in terms of what were we actually looking for from deal registration, what products were we looking to have registered, and what size of deal would we go for. We also built out an incentive program that actually made it more profitable for the partners to register deals than they had previously. And also we put in a process to actually explain to our partners why deal registration was important, and then help them with their marketing campaigns to actually go out, market the solution, and then they were able to register the deals based upon the marketing that we had done together. So one of the key things of deal registration is that you can't build it in a vacuum. It has to be part of the customer acquisition process, and it has to be part of understanding the partner's marketing and sales process. So I think that's what we did. We understood how our partners were working, how our customers were buying, put the right incentives in place, and then put a very simple communication plan together to make sure our partners understood the value and the benefit of creating a deal.
Excellent. Thank you, Cath.
So now, Gary, you've avoided answering the question. I'll ask again. Have you found any systems that your customers have used that are very easy, and have you got any experience to share there, or are they all too complex?
Well, I think, you know, the biggest challenge I think of two challenges with deal registration is just getting them to actually complete the form, number one, and number two, making the process efficient. You know, a lot of organizations, they have the sales guy assigned to closing the deal, but then oftentimes there's some administrator, someone who's assigned in the partner organization, and you over there, George, your job is to go and register these deals. And the problem is there's this gap between, you know, the salesperson and the person who's actually entering the information. So I think ease of use and designed, you know, kind of helping design the partner workflow so that this becomes the easiest deal registration system, if possible, of any vendor to register. You know, so whoever is assigned, whether it's a sales rep or some administrator, is designed around the absolute easiest process: pre-populating fields, simple forms, and automated notifications. That's what they're most looking for.
I agree, and I'm going to add one more, which works very well with my next slide: friendly. So a site that's friendly. I think that's very important. I think too often our partner portals are far too corporate. Here, I think you've got a great example of something we're doing for a customer right now, which is meeting the team, where for any user in any part of the world, they can see the team that's relevant to them, their distributors, their corporate team, the marketing team of the vendor. And that same customer, interesting enough, over Christmas asked us on their portal to put some snowflakes falling in the partner portal. And I think it's very important, is that personal friendly touch. You know, and not be trying to be too restricted to this corporate world and corporate speak. What's also important here, and we talked about interaction before, we have examples of live chats between vendors and partners among each other. In fact, this is a request that's coming quite often. But a simple contact form, very simple, that's easy to find, that's important, that's friendly. Again, as I said, for most of those partners, the likelihood of them having, you know, someone they can actually call is zero. So finding a way for them to reach out and finding a way for them to get feedback quickly is important. Now, lastly, it has to be a way for you to manage your data better. And again, when you consider that for the vast majority of your partners, there's little information you physically know about them, they're all remote, they're all unmanaged. You need to find a way for your partner portal to help you manage your data. The partner portal is likely to be the only place where a partner can change their details, add colleagues, delete colleagues. You know, if a colleague in an organization disappears, who is going to tell you about that? Are they going to tell you? No, of course they're not. So who else can do that? Can you give that role to someone in that organization who also has access to the portal? You know, do you let them edit their company details? Do you let them make other amendments to their partner profiles? Personally, too often we see systems that just do not allow that. Systems where partners can't change anything, where partners, dead data stays dead and can never be edited. So essentially, you need to find a way, and this is very important when you build your portal, to consider that and find ways, maybe by naming special individuals program champions or primary contacts, but let them essentially manage the data for their organization. Now, again, Cath, Gary, do you agree with that? I mean, do you see there's a symptom for that partner portals are so rigid sometimes that data management is not done there and becomes a nightmare?
Yes.
Go ahead, Cath.
Sorry. So yes, I have, but I would say that when you decide to have a partner administrator sitting in the partner, often that partner administrator isn't necessarily connected to the rest of the company in terms of who is still there, who's gone, whatever that might be. So it's important to give that administrator the capability to make changes, but also understand that they might need some training on how best to keep the data up to scratch and why it's important to them as well as to the vendor. I also think that it's important to allow partners to change their company details, especially as companies are moving into selling solutions and selling services, and you should not be too prescriptive as a vendor to just only have, because you're worried about your brand on the partner portal, where you keep all that data change within the vendor. You should allow the partner to make those changes, but you should have an audit facility within the vendor to check that you don't have anything that would compromise your brand in the future.
Good.
So just one key takeaway, I think, from this webinar is the theme that I think we heard throughout this webinar so far is ease of use. The basic activity of transacting with a vendor is, those are the simple things that unfortunately many portals don't deliver. So it's just, they don't wake up in the morning saying, gee, I can't wait to learn some new web application. So the one key takeaway I would say is, if you're looking at your partner portal or considering a new partner portal, you're saying, all right, what's most important to me? I need to, maybe it's deal registration, maybe it's enabling them to transact, maybe it's maintaining your data. Prioritize what's most important to you and take a good hard look at your portal and say, am I making this as easy as it possibly can be? If you're not, then you better take a look at it. It's ease of use. To make it as simple and easy as possible has got to be your #1 priority.
Now, Gary, stay on the line, okay, because I'm going to ask you a question next, because if we want these people to come to our portal, should we consider this, gamification? So I think you're all aware of what gamification is. I know we get asked a lot to one way or another add an element of gamification to the portals, maybe to show people how they do in terms of sales versus others, how they do in terms of activities, give them badges, rewards for things which are, some of those are sales related or certification related, but most often people want us to do gamifications within the portal, so activities within the portals. Now, Gary, questions is, do you think, again, to make those people wake up in the morning and want to go to those portals, do you think we need to add that element of gamification that lets them play with that portal as a means to self-promote maybe their company or themselves within that portal? Do you think there's a role, there's a place for that?
Absolutely, but here's what I would think about gamification. In our software, we have a whole gamification platform as well, and I agree that it's important. But to some extent, a gamification is us trying to motivate partners to do the things that are important to us. We want them to register deals. We want them to update their information. We want them to, execute email campaigns. The only thing I would say is that, I think a good, healthy look at what's most important to the partner, and make sure that you align, even if it isn't the most important for you, you align your gamification and your incentives and your proactive communications around what's most important to them. And I know it's a subtle, but I would argue important distinction. It's kind of ask yourself subjectively, am I making it as easy as possible, and am I motivating, like through gamification or incentives or others, the things that are the most important for them? Then you're going to be able to separate your brand from all the other brands that have other substandard portals.
Cool, I like that. Cath, what do you think about gamification? Have you put that in place in your other partner programs, in the partner portal?
Yes, I have, especially for training, web-based training. we found gamification extremely important. And I think what's important is that you take the apps and the way that people tend to think and work, and you put that natural element of competition into the portal, and you do get a higher sort of a higher response rate if you do have sort of most valued player of the month. So, you know, especially amongst the technical community who want to be valued for their knowledge and their capability, gamification is very important.
Thank you very much, Cath. So let's see if everybody agrees or not agrees or have done that. So this is my last raise your hand time. Can you raise your hand as attendant? And if you have successfully tried gamifications for motivating or educating or engaging partners or all. So I'll check that in a minute. But raise your hand if gamification is something you've tried and tried successfully. Now, this is really the end of the webinar, and I personally would like to thank you, Cath, and Gary, and all attendants who have stayed during what's nearly is an hour. So thank you very much for attending. And we now have time for questions. So Cath and Gary, please stay on the line because I've got a few questions coming through here, and some are very tough. First question, how do you recommend balancing the push-pull balance, i.e. providing portal users quick access to what they need to get to, with creating awareness for your priorities, your latest solutions to sell your programs? How do you do that? That
is a very tough question. Yes, I'm gonna defer to Gary at the moment while I think about it.
And Gary, if you want to defer, I'm prepared.
Go, please, go ahead.
Yeah,
we'll both augment your brilliant insights.
Yeah, thank you. It's a tough choice. I think for me, it comes back to that relevance and that personalization. You need, as a vendor, to put the information that your corporate team has forced you or is forcing you to put. They are the latest solutions that you need to sell. They are the new programs that you need to push. There's the new assets you need to deliver. There's the new program tiers, certification changes that you need to make. And you need to do that. And, you know, it's very important. You're not doing the portal to sell flowers if you're actually selling networking hardware. So it's very important. And you do that.
So, yep. Olivia, I do have an idea, which, so if your partner is very comfortable going to, they're looking for information on a particular product that's part of your core business, what you can actually do is, in a box or on the sort of on your page, is be able to recommend other reading that actually relates to a new solution, for example, that you want to sell. So say I'm going to use security because I was in semantics for so long, but basically you're selling a desktop security offering, but actually the next stage really for a company to think about is predictive analytics for security. What you can do is put that relevant information on that page with a recommendation for them to look at predictive analytics and a reason why they should be thinking about solving the next customer problem, not just the customer problem of today, in order to retain that customer for a longer period of time. So it's tying what they sell today to what they need to sell tomorrow, but putting the customer at the center, not the vendor and the solution at the center.
Excellent. And just to add to Cath's comment, you know, I can think of this term quick links. They don't wake up in the morning waiting to use your partner portal, but you do know what they do. You know that they are, if they're registering deals, if they're transacting, or what they've done. So the more you can deliver personalized information, but also even if they haven't done, you want to think about what are the things that they're most likely to do is to transact. Well, at the end of the day, they're most important thing is how they transact with you. So proactive communications, if you are to do them and they do opt into it, would be things like how to register deals, how to transact, and figure out what are the next most important things. I would argue it's things like how do I sell more of my services along with your products.
Good. So I think we've got that one answered. I'm just very aware of the time. I think we're coming, we've got lots of questions to go through. So thank you both for that. Let's see the next question there. Have partners been looking for compatibility with mobile devices on app for portal access and project registration ease? Has anyone developed this kind of tools? So I guess it relates to, should the partner portals be mobile ready? The answer is yes. Should they be mobile, completely mobile? And for me, the answer is yes, sometimes. Some of these functions and capabilities and tools and assets that you want to provide to them could be mobile and available via mobile devices. Some may not be. I think for me, the ones that could not be, for instance, is if those partners were interested in requesting an MDF fund request, it may not be that easy. Gary, do you seen partner portals all mobile ready, all ready to go?
Yeah, well, I just say that I completely agree with you. You got to go process by process. You know, some processes that require big, ugly forms don't work that well on. So you just have to break it up into too many steps. You know, it's just easier for them to complete on a desktop. But whenever possible, mobile friendly is best.
Cool. Now, Cath, I've got a question for you next. So be prepared this time. Do you have any data points which point towards which business partners are seeking for the most? So what are they looking for in a partner portal the most? Do you have asked them? Did you ever in your previous lives at Symantec, for instance, ask your partners for that feedback and to help you prioritize?
Yeah, absolutely. So we asked our partners, you know, what reasons do you go into the portal, and most often it's price lists. They're just about to do a quote. They need to know what the price is, so you know that came out as something that was key. Technical information to be able to answer a question whilst live, so that's something that's important, being able to give bite-sized information to allow a salesperson to be able to answer questions quickly and knowledgeably. And then the other thing use the portal for is to be able to look at building a marketing campaign and then downloading the right assets to be able to access and drive that campaign. So those are definitely things that partners wanted, but I think going out to your partners and asking them what they want, if you go and ask a managed services provider, they're going to want content, they don't want branded materials. So within the asking the partners what they want, be mindful that they're not all going to want to work the same way.
Okay, thanks, Cath. That's great. Let me just feedback on the raise a hand question. So when I asked who had tried gamifications, I'm pleased to say, well, or not pleased to say, that only, I would say, 5% of you have tried successfully gamifications for their partner portals and marketing activities. So not a great amount here in the audience. That's for the little caveat. Now, someone is asking a question, should there be a portal for salespeople and one for marketing people and one for the technical guys? So they don't have things that are irrelevant that turns them off. I'll answer to start with. I'll give some time for Cath and Gary there. The answer is no. Your portal should cover all of these people as different groups of individuals and present information that only them need. And I think we need to look for an added portal that just does that. And maybe that asks who they are or collects the information or uses that information you may have about them and deliver an experience that is for them. I know it's very difficult. I'm trying to understand who these people are. They're often very remote and, you know, line items in a Salesforce extract, but for me, the partner portal should take those functions in mind and deliver an experience that matches the expectations. Cath, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree, but I'd also, you need to remember that some partners, people do multiple jobs, so they could be doing sales and marketing. They could, so you need to, they're not necessarily going to be so specialized in one area. So you do need one partner portal, and I think we're going back to the idea of having relevant and targeted information. The partner person chooses what they want to see.
Good. Gary, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, just one thing. I think that the distinction between proactive personalization and reactive personalization. Proactive is I'm organizing information for the user by role. And reactive is I'm studying their activities and I'm presenting information based on their behavior. As Cath said, you said I might be a marketer today and a salesperson tomorrow and an administrator the next day. So what the personalization may be relevant for a time, but then it may not. So give them the ability, I would argue, give the ability to do both. I have proactively personalized based on persona, and I can reactively present based on their behavior.
All of this is extremely difficult to do. But good, thank you for your input, both of you there, and feedback. I've got one last question because I know we're nearly finished there. Someone's asking, what are some of the best ways to know if a partner is following up with shared leads? Do they need to log activities or check a box or link to post-of-sale reports? Cath, you've done that before, right?
Yes, and I'd say that it can be very time-consuming to keep checking the partner at every stage to see what they've done. There are a couple of ways to do it. You can assign an inside partner manager to work alongside that partner and help them with leads and see what they are following up, and then that inside partner manager can report back. But the quickest, easiest way I found was to get them to put it on deal registration. Once that lead is on deal registration, then as they go through the sales process, they need to actually say where they are in the sales process, and then they need to close it out in order to get their money. And that was the best way I found of following up leads.
Thank you very much, Cath. A lot of experience there. It's one of the very, very difficult things to do. Tracking from a deal or from a lead then to a sale, very difficult. So thank you for that input, Cath. Guys, I think it's time for us to say goodbye. So Gary, I would like to thank you for your participation today. Cath, thank you very much for your time as well. I think it's been invaluable, and I hope the audience has appreciated the feedback, the screens, the discussions, the views. And on that note, I think it's time to go. So Sam, if you'd like to